Let not your heart be troubled. You are listening to the Sean Hannity Radio Show podcast. So like many of you, I have trouble sleeping. I have insomnia. No matter what I tried, it wouldn't work until I met Mike Lindell and I got my very own MyPillow. It has changed my life. What makes MyPillow so different is MyPillow's patented adjustable fill. In other words, you can adjust the patented fill to your exact individual needs so you get the support you need and want to help you get to sleep faster and stay asleep longer. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 1-800-919-6090. Remember, use the promo code Hannity. When you do, Mike Lindell will give you his best offer ever. Buy one pillow and get another one absolutely free. MyPillow, made in the USA, 10-year unconditional warranty, and a 60-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. You have nothing to lose. So it's time for you to start getting the quality of sleep that you've been wanting and we need. Just go to MyPillow.com or call 800-919-6090, promo code Hannity. Take advantage of Mike's special 2-for-1 offer. MyPillow.com, promo code Hannity.
I want to focus on North Korea. I want to focus on Iran. I want to focus on other things. I don't want to focus on fixing somebody's back or their knee or something. Let the states do that. The states should do that. So the block grant concept is a very good concept. And if you have good management, good governors, good politicians in the state, it'll be phenomenal. If you don't, it's like everything else. So we are just about there in terms of the vote. So I expect to be getting health care approved. But I'm disappointed. I thought that when I ran, I've been hearing like you for 7 years, repeal and replace, repeal. For 7 years, I was a civilian. I wasn't even thinking about doing this. I was doing my nice buildings all over, and I was leading a very nice life, believe me. And then I decided to do and so for 2 years, I've been saying we're going to repeal and replace. That's what's going to happen. We will repeal and replace. But I thought that when I got to the Oval Office, I would have a bill sitting on my desk, repeal and replace a beautiful health care bill. And it didn't happen. But remember, it didn't happen because of a lot of Republicans. It didn't that happened, that horrible thing happened because of a few people, really a few people. And the problem we have is we have 52 senators, and they have to get rid of the just absolutely crazy voting where you need 60. It's called the filibuster rule. It's a disaster, okay? It's a disaster for the Republicans. They have to get rid of it. If they don't get rid of it, it's just a death sentence. And we should go back to a majority, and we'll get the votes one after another.
Quick final question. In the tax package, is it possible, rather than wrap it all into one great big bill that gives everyone an excuse to not vote for it, saying, oh, I'm for 99 of the 100 things.
Right.
Will it possibly be done a la carte, where each piece of it, and force these guys to say yes or no to each element of the tax plan?
We could do that. For instance, it would be easier, believe it or not, the Democrats want to raise taxes because they want programs that many people don't want. They want a big increase in taxes, and we want a big cut in taxes. So for business, we could do it much easier if it was separate. But I don't like that because I think it looks unfair to people in the country. The business, now, even though it's going to create jobs, they're not looking at it that way. So I want to do it this way. Could we do it that way? Absolutely. Some people prefer doing it that way. I think you would agree. If we can get it, doing it the way we're doing it is better, because I want to give the middle income people in this country, and this is not a tax for the rich. Now, everybody's going to benefit, but this is what we're focused on more than anything, and even more so, we're actually adding things in as we speak, because the plan's being adjusted, etc. But this is for the middle class. So the answer is yes. It would be easier if I cut it down into the middle income people, or the working people, as I call them, because they're working people. If I do that, and business would be easier, but I'd like to do it as one.
All right, so maybe we'll actually get some progress. Hour 2, Sean Hannity Show. Toll free, our telephone number is 800-941-SEAN. You want to be a part of the program, so it is a rare in-studio appearance. My Fox News colleague of 10 years now will debut the Ingraham angle immediately following Hannity on Fox. debuting October the 30th because she needed a few weeks to get her act together.
Oh, you know something? I am the abuse I take, James.
She needed a few weeks to go on vacation.
You know something? You have such a fancy studio. I have a very down-home studio. Like, you got like 15 screens. What is this, NORAD? Look at this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You got 15 in the other room.
3 over there.
You got the ode to Hannity all over the place. This is amazing.
What is the Conservative Solutions Caucus?
No.
Wait a minute. I got
You have your head on George Washington's body superimposed. What is that?
Why are you lying?
You were at Valley Forge. That's a good movie.
Why are you lying? Anyway, so that's the forgotten man sitting on the bench, and there's like Donald Trump helping the forgotten man. Mm-hmm. And I try and remember what this election was about because for a big part of my life I was the forgotten man. Had $200 in my bank account.
Came from the forgotten man and woman. Yeah. That's where we came from. That's why we're hungry.
You know, I'm glad you wrote this book. It's called Billionaire at the Barricades, The Populist Revolution from Reagan to Trump. Who was it that wrote this? Oh, they're like, we go from William F. Buckley to the likes of Hannity and Ingraham and talk radio. Is that what this is? Is this the movement? I'm thinking, I happen to revere Buckley. I mean, he's a brilliant, brilliant man.
Oh, yeah. Sure.
And God and man. You know, but... You know, are they going to talk about his irreverence? I remember a few debates with Gore Vidal, if he ever said the things he said then.
That was the Buckley we really liked, taking on Vidal. Yeah, well, the party has been in this family feud mode since about 2007 when they tried to push the Bush amnesty down everyone's throats. They tried to put Harriet Miers, the ultimate act of cronyism, on the Supreme Court. And that was talk radio that basically stopped both things. The immigration amnesty that was being pushed back then by John McCain and a lot of Democrats, and George W. Bush, and the Myers nomination. Thank goodness we defeated both, because now we have Sam Alito on the Supreme Court, and we have Donald Trump. So I think the Reagan Revolution brought everyone together, because Reagan came in, Sean, at a time when we had to defeat the Soviet Union, when Jimmy Carter had taken our country down a ravine. We had the Iranian hostage crisis, and Reagan came along after almost winning the nomination in 76, and with a conservative populist zeal, he revolutionized politics in the country. You and I wouldn't be doing what we're doing without Reagan. So
no doubt about it.
He is the reason we have a meeting. Without Reagan, there would have been no Fox News. Right, so there would have been no Limbaugh.
Here's my question, though. I look at Trump's agenda, and I don't care if it's his economic plan, 7 brackets to 3, repatriation, energy independence, corporate taxes, lowering the rates across the board for the most part. We can get into the details later. Immigration, secure the borders, be identifying evil in our time, something Obama wouldn't do. What part of his agenda is not conservative? Because, I mean, we throw around these terms, populist, nationalist.
Yep.
But I look at Trump's agenda as conservative. I've always been a Reagan conservative. I've not changed.
Yeah, well, Reagan used the Make America Great Again. That was one of his first commercials, as everyone remembers. And his point from 76 on, really from 64 on, was without a strong, vibrant American economy, we're no good to the rest of the world. Because if America sees that the system at home is rigged against them and is not really working for the everyman, it's just working for a very small veneer of elites, then they're not going to have any desire to do anything in any other countries, any foreign countries. So Reagan understood that. When he went to blue collar America and said, you don't have to vote Democrat anymore, there's a new way forward. Trump actually did a similar thing. There are different people. Obviously, Trump's not a politician. He doesn't speak with the same, poetic.
They hate that.
With the same poetry of Reagan. But remember, the same Democrats who despised Reagan and the same old-style Republican Party that hated Reagan in 76 called him a force of disruption.
No, they actually called him, Republicans were the one that called him an amiable dunce.
Yeah, and he was a Ronnie Reagan. He was going to blow us all up. He was going to get us into World War III. What are they saying about Trump? Corker yesterday? He's going to get us into World War III. It's exactly what they said about Reagan, because Reagan didn't want to do the détente anymore. He wanted peace through strength.
Right.
He thought we could bring the Soviet Union down by a stronger U.S. economy and a bigger military, and he was laughed at for that.
You know what's amazing? I watched this Corker thing go back and forth, and I don't think Corker doesn't get it.
No.
The Senate doesn't get it. Do you realize they've been there? They're now in their 10th month since Trump has been president. What have they accomplished? They've maybe approved a third of the president's
VA thing.
All right, the VA thing was a big deal, and no doubt Gorsuch on the Supreme Court. Give credit where credit is due.
Yep.
If it wasn't for the president stepping out today with Rand Paul and using his statutory authority on the issues involving health care,
right,
we wouldn't get anything done.
Yep.
Everything the president could do himself, he's done.
Exactly. And yeah, we heard yesterday and today on some of the other cable channels, we heard, well, the president just doesn't want to pass legislation. The president just wants to bully people and to appeal to his 30% talk radio audience. And I said to that, how many pieces of legislation have arrived at his door on his desk that he hasn't signed? He even signed the Russian sanctions bill, which frankly was a stupid bill. He signed it reluctantly, but he wanted to play along and play nice with the establishment there, and he did that. But I'm telling you, the establishment Republicans, the McConnells, the Corkers, the McCains, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, we can work with them on certain issues, but on some issues there's just a break in the family, and that's not coming back. That's not coming back.
So they're not Reagan conservatives. So in other words,
I would argue no. I would argue no. They're globalists.
The one that is the bigger Reagan conservative would be Trump.
I think Donald Trump, and it's so odd to think about it, but a guy who comes from Manhattan, who grew up as a son of privilege, has a closer connection to the heartbeat of the American working class than any of these Republicans on Capitol Hill. And I mean any of them, which is stunning. That's a stunning thing.
If his plan was implemented, those people in those pictures, and I'm not in them, thank you very much, but John McNaughton is a great
declaration.
No, I actually have the original.
Oh.
That's a copy. I bought the original. That guy sitting on the bench, and you've got one side liberals, the other side conservative presidents, and Obama stomping on the Constitution. But if we would implement those economic plans, Reagan created 20 million new jobs, doubled revenues to the government. It was, up to that time, the longest period of peacetime economic growth in history. It can be duplicated.
It can be.
Then why would they resist it?
Well,
why?
Because if Trump is successful, think of what that does to their brand of republicanism, which has been really riding on the coattails of Reagan without a lot of accomplishments. They are at their heart, their very heart, they're not working class conservatives. They're not. Most of them aren't from the people that we're from. I'm sorry, they're not. Most of them are. They're a different
privilege,
breed, which is okay because you can be privileged and actually get it. But they are, when push comes to shove, keeping wages low for corporate America by streaming people into the country, and they're for these global trade deals that have deindustrialized the Middle West. That's why all these states turned out for Trump. They've seen their livelihood destroyed, their families oftentimes broken up. They got all these people addicted to opioids. We had a hopelessness in America, Sean, that was so it was so transparent, and I felt it the night of November 6th in Leesburg, Virginia, 2 days before the election. It was a Sunday night, and it was cold. It was maybe, 45 degrees. At midnight, there were 12,000 people waiting for Donald Trump to make his final trip
and you were
on
there.
The campaign. I was there.
All right, stay right there. I want to know, you were sort of in the forefront of leading the effort against Eric Cantor, and you were successful, and Dave Bratt took his place.
Yep.
And then we saw Roy Moore in Alabama, and just this weekend, Steve Bannon says, this is just
we're just starting.
We're just starting.
Getting going.
All right, we'll take a break. Laura Ingraham is with us, a brand new book out. We put it up on Hannity.com. It's called Billionaire at the Barricades, The Populist Revolution from Reagan to Trump.
By the way, I'm going to be in Philadelphia area on Thursday night, and then I'm going to be all the tour stops are on LauraIngraham.com. But Philly, I want to see a big Philly turnout on Thursday night.
More with Laura Ingraham on the other side. She will be one of our many guests tonight on Hannity. Steve Bannon is stopping by in studio tonight, and much more. 9 East. Hey, you know how I love hearing great American success stories and sharing them all with you. Well, our favorite T-shirt, underwear, sock company, Tommy John, well, that's one of them. Now, Tom Patterson grew up in a small town in South Dakota. After college, he had a successful career. He was selling medical devices on the West Coast. But he quickly became fed up with the way his undershirt kept coming untucked. So despite having zero background in men's fashion whatsoever, Tom sketched up some designs for smarter undergarments. Now, starting out of his apartment and growing Tommy John to the globally recognized company it is today, well, Tom did the American dream. Now, of course, they're super soft. They're undershirts. Guess what? They never come untucked. Plus, all of Tommy John underwear is backed by the best pair you'll ever wear, guarantee, or it's free. Go to TommyJohn.com/Hannity for 20% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Hannity. You get 20% off your first order. TommyJohn.com/Hannity, 20% off. That's TommyJohn.com/Hannity. And as we continue, Laura Ingraham is in studio with us today. 800-941-SEAN is our number. We've got an investigation coming up into the very latest in the Debbie Wasserman Schultz scandal. So you wrote Billionaire at the Barricades. We saw what happened to Roy Moore in Alabama. You were in the forefront of going up against Eric Cantor, and as a result, I think we got a far better congressman in David Bratt. And Steve Bannon is basically saying this is just the beginning, because if the Senate's not going to do their job and they're not going to get things accomplished and they're going to stop the agenda, then let's replace them. I agree with him.
I think he's totally right. And I'm going to be with Bannon with Kelly Ward in Phoenix next week.
So I'm supporting Kelly Ward.
Yeah, so we're doing a huge event for her. So it's Bannon and I and some other friends, I guess you.
By the way, she's going to beat Jeff Flake.
Oh, Jeff Flake is one of the most unpopular, untethered to reality senators. He's a globalist, open borders, complete open markets. Doesn't matter if China's getting stronger. And he is a constant thorn in the side of this administration. He did not understand what the election was all about. And the people have had enough. I mean, just like on your show, Sean, my listeners in Phoenix go crazy. They're like, how did we get this guy? They always campaign as one thing, and then they govern something totally different. Same with McCain.
By the way, I think Corker would have lost in Tennessee.
Absolutely. That's why he was getting out. Corker was on his way out. He, barely won by the skin of his teeth last time around. He was scared last time around, and he managed to win. But this time, forget about it. The populist winds are blowing.
Who do you like so far early in Tennessee?
Well, Marsha Blackburn's running. I like Marsha, but I want to see what the real field is, because I'm not sure she's nationalist enough for me, frankly. I mean, she's been there for a while. I like her a lot. But we'll see. I'm waiting to see.
She's actually come up with her own version of the penny plan that actually goes further than the version I've advocated all these years. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm happy to look
I'm not making I'm not making decisions until the time.
No. We have plenty of time on that.
And I guess they're even going after Orrin Hatch now in Utah.
Well, again, it's Orrin Hatch. God bless him. He's a nice man. He could not be a nicer person.
No.
Lamar Alexander, Thad Cochran. I mean, these people are like should be on the set of Cocoon. I mean, we've got to go. I mean, this is
By the way,
not.
Is that pool real? I want to find that pool.
We do
the
not.
Pool with the pods.
Oh, my God. It's time to say goodbye. They're in their late 70s. Do they have no interests other than shuffling over to the Capitol every now and then to go to these black tie dinners, raising money? I mean, 77 years old, 79 years old, 82 years old. I mean, they've just got it's not a lifetime job security act running for the Senate. I'm tired of all of them.
All right, so I'm looking at your book. I've been reading it this weekend.
Thank you.
Thanks for getting me an early copy. It's just out today in bookstores everywhere. It's on Hannity.com. Also, you're going to be doing a bunch of book events, speeches, I guess, along with the book signings in Philly, in Myrtle Beach, in D.C. You headed to Oklahoma City, Scottsdale, Arizona, you had to put West Palm Beach.
Yeah, well, I had to go down there for
I have to hang out at the Breakers.
I had to go check out your property down there.
I don't have any property down in West Palm Beach.
You're the landed gentry. You went from the construction site to being the landed gentry. Are you kidding me?
I don't have property in West Palm Beach.
Oh, okay. Sorry, it's the one county in Palm Beach County where you don't have property.
No, I'm on the other coast.
You actually own the Panhandle. Are you kidding me?
I don't have any property in the Panhandle.
Okay.
Keep guessing.
Naples. Okay.
I do have a condo in Naples. All right, 800-941-SHOW.
I always struggled with okay, so what's my story? And it suddenly dawned on me that I was the beneficiary of these radical changes in women's rights and opportunities that began in the 60s and continue, and that I could have and maybe should have tried harder to tell that story. But I quickly add, as you point out, I never thought there would be that receptive an audience. And I think that what's happened since this election may have cracked that open. I hope it has. I hope, I'm seeing tens of thousands of people on my book tour, and I've now shaken, about 8,000 hands in book signings and spoken to, 10,000 more, and I've got much still to do. There seems now to be a willingness by more and more women and girls to claim their rights in a very explicit way, not an apologetic way, not like, excuse me, let me express my opinion. But no, I have an opinion. I want to tell you what that opinion is.
I can tell you that the number one problem in Hollywood was and is and always will be pedophilia.
I was 12 years old, and my publicist, he basically talked me into doing things that I didn't really want to do. Hadn't had sex before, and he kind of convinced me that this was the right thing to do, and kind of told me, don't tell your parents. He seduced me, and it started at 11 years old to 12. We have to make people realize that children need to be safe on these sets, and they're not safe.
Congratulations, you 5 ladies no longer have to pretend to be attracted to Harvey Weinstein.
Do you have any advice for a young girl moving to Hollywood?
I'll get live with that. Harvey Weinstein invites you to a private party and Four Seasons downtown.
You hear of your own free will. Has someone coerced you into being here?
Do you count Harvey Weinstein as a coercer?
No.
I'm not afraid of anyone in show business. I turned down intercourse with Harvey Weinstein on no less than 3 occasions out of 5.
So the Harvey Weinstein scandal continues here, and it's getting worse by the day. Now, here's the most fascinating aspect of all of this is how come you never hear all of these people in Hollywood that supported the Clintons over the years? Well, I interviewed Juanita Broderick, and she accused Bill Clinton of rape. I interviewed Kathleen Willey, who said she was groped and grabbed and fondled and touched and kissed against her will. I interviewed Paula Jones, who says that then Governor Clinton dropped his pants and said, kiss it. How come the media never plays this, and why were they so supportive of Bill Clinton? Let's hit it.
You described a scene where he was biting on your lip, and then when it was all over, he was leaving. I said, you better put some ice on that.
Yeah, and casually put on his sunglasses and walked out the door.
It was a terrible ordeal for me, and no woman should be subjected to it. It was an assault.
He assaulted you?
Yes.
He touched, grabbed, fondled, and kissed you against your will?
Yes.
And it's an allegation that is not made by one woman, it's made by multiple
Many
women.
of us.
I said, well, I may need to be going or something. And next thing you know, he pulled down he sat down, pulled down his pants, his whole everything, and he was exposed. And I said, I'm not that kind of girl, and I need to be getting back to my desk.
So beyond despicable, beyond hypocritical, Ainsley Earhardt, the co-host of Fox and Friends on the Fox News Channel each weekday morning, 6 to 9, is with us. She's got a brand new book out. This is number 2 in a series. It's called Through Your Eyes, My Child's Gift to Me. You know, it's fast. I'm going to ask this question through this prism. When you have a daughter, and I have a young daughter, and I saw your daughter on TV with your dad is in. You're Mr. Earhart, sir. I know with the South it's sir, yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. Am I doing all right? Like, can we put his mic on? You got to get.
Dad, you got to get closer to the mic.
Okay, yeah.
Sorry about that. There you go.
You got to talk a little louder.
You don't have to call me sir, Sean.
No. I'm glad to call you. But it makes a difference. I mean, it literally makes such a big difference in life. What are your thoughts? You've been covering the Weinstein thing.
You know, when you play all those sound bites of the girls who are accusing Bill Clinton of this, it sounds exactly like the stories about Weinstein. And I don't think any of us have ever thought about it because that happened so long ago until you've brought it up, Sean. You know, could you imagine if the shoe were on the other foot, if this were President Trump? Oh, the mainstream media would be playing it over and over and over. Yeah, they're not really covering thing, not for a big portion of the newscast.
And now we're seeing that it was a lot of these stars are coming out of the woodwork. I think it's the tip of the iceberg. I had 2 women on last night. Tracy McCure was on, an actress that has been in movies and on soap operas, and then we had Kaya Jones, who was with the Pussycat Dolls. And it's in music, and it's in TV, and it's in the movies.
The entertainment industry.
And these young girls go with hopes and dreams, and this is how
this is why my parents would never, right, Dad? They never wanted me to major in theater, and they didn't want me to go to New York at an early age.
Now, is that true, Mr. Earhart?
One big reason, yeah.
Yeah.
I remember there was a modeling.
Was she incorrigible growing up? Or did she behave?
She was trouble all the time.
That is not true. You're getting me confused with your son.
That's true.
Oh, so she was an angel and your son
I don't know about an angel, but I was the middle child.
She was a middle of the road, I'll put it that way.
You put it middle of the road, middle child, is that right? Well, you think of it, and I know this is a second in the series. By the way, the illustrations in these books that you do are phenomenal.
Thank you.
And your first book was Take Heart, My Child, and that was your dreams for your child. I happened to see you guys on the show this morning. First, your daughter is an angel. That girl is adorable.
Thank you.
And that's your granddaughter, sir.
That's right.
Okay. And so now, Through Your Eyes, My Child's Gift to Me, and I started thinking about it as y'all were talking about it this morning. See, I'm getting Southern, y'all. And this is what was interesting to me, is when you watch kids and it's raining outside, they love the rain. To us, it's an aggravation.
Right.
If with the snow, it's an aggravation. For a kid, it's heaven.
I know.
You know, and they, for example, you buy them a beautiful gift or a toy, and all they care about is the plastic that they can pop.
Right.
You know, it's like, and we think it's the greatest gift we ever got them.
I know.
I mean, so tell us about.
Well, that's really what the book is about, Sean. It's just, it's watching your children and learning from them and being able to, as an adult, say, I can grow and learn the importance of life and what's really important, and that's through the eyes of a child. Because
I'm sure your schedule's as busy as we live insane lives. I mean,
it's
we
go,
just
go, go.
It's go, go, go all the time.
Yes.
And does your child stop you? And do you go, wow? Your child's name is Hayden. Hayden. Does your child, that you find yourself stopping and saying, I'm so stupid.
I do find myself, I've always been a worker.
Yeah.
And like you, I say yes to everything that Fox ever asks me to do. And my schedule is packed. It literally, minute to minute, it is packed. Having a baby has slowed me down in the fact that I'm not afraid to leave work and go attend to her or go to her classes and just put my work life on hold for an hour.
Do you find you're getting better at saying no? Because I got better as I just started my 23rd year at Fox, believe it or not, last year.
Congratulations. What would we do without you? Thank goodness.
Who would have thunk it? I'm the last man standing at Fox News.
I can't believe I'm in a studio. Dad, can you believe this if you really think about it? We're from South Carolina. I watched you. I remember that was the last thing that we would do every night. We'd watch your show and then go to bed, and I'd get up and anchor the local news. And now I'm working with you and have been a correspondent for your show, and I'm on your radio show sitting in front of you.
You've been there 11 years now, right?
Almost 11.
Almost 11 years. What did you think, when you read this book? Because I'm reading it. My kids are older now. My son's 18, my daughter's 16. And I'm realizing there were those moments. I do have one regret that I wasn't home enough because I was working so hard. But I remember my kids would they'd stop and pick up a rock. And then I'd be like, come on, let's go, 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 go. No, then they'd pick up a flower. And I'm like, ugh, stop with the stupid flower. Then they'd pick up something else that was annoying me. And I remember at the time I was pretty good at realizing, all right, it's more important that they play with the rock than me to drag them along like they're a puppy dog and understand that that's of interest to them.
Well, Sean, I think that, I always say the simple things in life are probably the best things in life. And that certainly holds true in raising children. And as I said today on the TV station, they're gifts from God. So no matter how bad they are, how good they are, they're yours. It's your responsibility to care for them and love them and cherish them. And, the little moments that we had with all three of ours were probably moments that we were sitting together talking or at the beach somewhere, sitting around on the beach and just spending time with each other. That was far more important than getting a new car or a new house or whatever it may be, some new toy or whatever. Like you said, I think they had more pleasure playing with boxes that the toys came in and
I know, right?
Toy.
And I'm looking through the illustrations, and you have like a snowy day with an airplane, and the kids are ecstatic. You have a scene in the park, a fall scene, and the illustrations are beautiful. Then you have a little girl chasing birds in the book and a story around that. Then kids in a playground, which used to give me agita because I thought my kid was going to break his neck. And then kids hanging out at a pond and just running around and playing and with the dog. And then, butterflies and flying kites and going on little boats. I don't know about your life. I don't get to do this anymore.
I know.
I barely get to breathe. But I think we rob our kids of their childhood a little.
Well, the book it's been interesting to see how all this has unfolded. The first book was about all the little messages that Dad would leave me next to my cereal bowl every morning, a scripture, a poem, and it was called Take Heart because there's a scripture in the Bible that says, in this world you will have trouble, but take heart, I have overcome the world. And I think about that when we talk about ISIS, we talk about all North Korea, take heart, I have overcome the world. And that's kind of the message our kids teach us. Learn to breathe, learn to take a step back and truly smell the roses.
And you've been able to do that. This has helped you.
It's helped me. I'm working on it. I'm not a perfectionist. I'm not perfect at this. I'm trying, but I'm learning. I'm really just learning to take a step back and watch my daughter and appreciate her seeing a dog for the first time.
It sounds
her seeing
like
rain for the first time.
I remember from the first book, you did tell that story that Mr. Earhart, sir, you would leave notes for all the kids, right? And Bible verses. Did you have any idea it would have the impact to inspire Ainsley to do a book like this?
No, not really, Sean. It's just I was really surprised that Ainsley kept them all or wrote them down somewhere. And I still have a file folder at the house that I would kind of run out. I'm going to have to go back and start repeating.
Yeah.
But
see, my family's just shocked that I'm not in jail. I mean, they're really, I was far more incorrigible in my life.
I won't go there.
No. I guess you're saying it's your brother. Okay.
That's right. No question.
He turned out okay.
How does it feel to, and this is just a fact now, that the President of the United States of America, that you're his favorite show? There have been articles written that Fox and Friends is his favorite show.
Well, one of them. I think yours is too.
I think he's watched the show.
I love it. Yeah.
It's cool, right?
It's great. Mm-hmm. Yes. The mainstream media or the liberal press will want to write an article about, we give soft interviews or we do that. That is not true. The vice president even told one of his folks that works for him told me that my interview was tougher than he gave 3 of us interviews at one point. One was Matt Lauer, one was me, and I can't remember who the other one was. And he said that mine was the tougher one out of all 3 of them, which I took great pride in because I plan my questions the night before. I talk about it. Sometimes I'll call you and I'll say, Sean, can I run over the questions with you? Or I'll talk to people on my staff. And I'll come up with really hard-hitting questions and things that I think our viewers are going to want to know. I don't want anyone to think it's a softball question, but I do want people to think we're fair. And I think we are fair.
No, well, and you work very hard to get these interviews, as everybody does. And I noticed that Brian was there earlier today. One of the things you should be proud of is by far you double your competition. You beat them combined. And that's an amazing accomplishment, especially considering how tough morning TV is.
We have great
now listen,
viewers.
I will tell you, this is the best illustrated book with an incredible message. I think it reminds even those of us that are adults that we need to slow down a little bit and we can learn from our children that they're gifts from God and they have wonderful things to teach us and remind us about. You're going to be out in Huntington tonight at book review, signing books, in about an hour and 15 minutes from right now.
I'll be at Huntington, 7 o'clock book review. Brooklyn tomorrow night at Brookmark Shop, which is on 3rd Avenue, and that's at 7 p.m. And then I'll be at R.J. Julia Booksellers at 6 p.m. on Thursday in Connecticut. Then I go home to South Carolina to sign books in Myrtle Beach on Friday night, Saturday during the day in my hometown in Columbia, and then on Sunday I'm in Greenville, my mom's hometown. So you can go on AinsleyEarhartBooks.com to see the schedule or any of my social media. And if you want to buy a signed book.
It's on my website, too, Hannity.com, okay?
And then I also have the signed books.
So tonight at Book Review in Huntington, if you want to go to any of these other ones, it's on AinsleyBooks.com or Hannity.com.
AinsleyEarhartBooks.com. That's
I got to get it right. All right.
But if you want to buy a signed copy of the book, you can go on AinsleyBook.com.
Well, congratulations. It's a great reminder for all of us.
And some of the money goes to Folds of Honor.
Which is the military charity.
That's right.
All right, Mr. Earhart, sir, God bless you. Good to see you. You got to be proud of this little girl.
Very much so. Proud of all 3 of them. Not just her, but all 3.
I'm blessed
which one
to
do you
have
like the best?
Parents.
I can't go there.
All right. Quick break. We'll come back. We have an awesome Hannity tonight, 9 Eastern, on the Fox News Channel. Quick break. Right back. We'll continue. All right, that's going to wrap things up for tonight. We are going to blow wide open the real Russia conspiracy collusion story. It's all happening tonight on the Fox News Channel, Hannity at 9. Now, Sarah Carter, John Solomon, our good friend Greg Jarrett, Newt Gingrich, and Peter Schweitzer will all break this down for you in an understandable way, and I bet the rest of the media ignores it because they are corrupt. You don't want to miss it. That's happening tonight. 9 Eastern, Hannity on the Fox News Channel. Powerful moment from last night's Vegas Strong concert that we were a small part of. headlined by Big and Rich. Then you had Ron White, the comedian there. You had Rascal Flatts playing an incredible acoustic set. Big and Rich were on their game last night. It was just phenomenal. So while they were playing that, remember, this is 1 hour before, with a crowd of about 30,000 people, the shooting that happened here in Vegas. Remember, they sang that song in unison. I mean, for some parents that lost their kids, they know that an hour before their child died, this is the experience that child had. And that video went so viral. So during the singing of this last night, I actually stood in front of the stage, and I stood up on, like, this chair, and I think I got the best video I've ever taken in my life, because I'm not the best video taker. And we posted it all on Hannity.com. I'm going to air it on TV. All of this will air on TV tonight in my usual slot. We're going to have Vegas Strong, a night of healing, and all the highlights from last night are going to be played tonight, and I think you're going to really enjoy it. And I know the people in Vegas did, and I know from what I've heard, a ton of money was raised for the families, the victims, for some of their medical costs, and first responders, others that were injured. It was just an incredible, amazing night, and one of the more important reasons that happened is because Big and Rich came back in town, and they played for this crowd at the packed Orleans Arena last night. And John Rich joins us, as well as Thomas Gunderson. You may remember that he was shot in the leg, and when President Trump came to the hospital, he wasn't able to stand, but he stood up for the president, and then he posted on Facebook, "I'll always stand for my president." Then we find out that he really stood for Melania. He didn't stand for the president. He told me privately. Guys, welcome to the show. That was a great show last night, John. Unbelievable. And then I never knew you owned a bar in Vegas called the Redneck Riviera. Then you guys played another 2 hours. You kept me out till like 3 a.m, and I have half a voice today, but I had the most fun I've had in a long time.
Be honest, John. You kept me out till 3 o'clock in the morning. Come on.
You kidding. But, I watch you guys perform, and there's such a passion in what you do. I saw people crying last night when you're singing the 8th of November. We're going to show that definitely. It's going to be on the show tonight. I actually filmed that, too. That's got to be an incredible experience for you night in and night out.
Well, Sean, I mean, we are fire-breathing Americans, and when we take the stage, we feel so blessed to be able to do that, with our lives, to make music. And music it's a big unifier. It doesn't matter. You saw this last night. It doesn't matter your politics or where you're from or anything else. When you play those songs and everybody, like the 8th of November, or you sing God Bless America, or even crazy songs like Save Horse Ride a Cowboy, you'll see all these people jumping in and this energy like you saw last night, man, it's just over the top. And I think it's really the comment that I would love America to focus on is seeing their fellow Americans standing there together with their iPhones in the air. Those lights are shining up, and they're singing at the top of their lungs with every ounce of patriotism and passion that they have. That, to me, is really what America's all about. And it's just an honor every time we step on the stage and are able to lead those songs.
I'd be honest, there was an energy last night in that arena that I imagine was just a cut above. When I walked out in the crowd a couple of times and I met people, I actually met the guy that we hear on the audio tape when the dispatch, when he says, "All right, on the 32nd floor, gonna breach. The first guy Ian I met last night. A woman came up to me, and so many women came up to me and telling me the stories about how their husbands were heroes that nobody knows about. And, you're right. The shooter didn't care if they're Republican, Democrat, liberal, conservative. He just wanted to kill Americans. He didn't care who he was killing. And, that's evil in our time. And, one of the victims is with us here, Thomas Gunderson. I mean, you're going to be in rehab for how long, Thomas, for your leg?
Probably a couple more months, maybe even a few more months. We'll see how it goes.
Yeah, you looked pretty good last night, and I think your girlfriend is way out of your league. I'm just saying, and even your mom and dad told me they thought so.
Oh, she is. I got lucky.
Nah, you guys are a great couple. I was having fun with y'all last night.
Yeah, it was a good time.
And it's funny because this wasn't supposed to be political. It became political because that's what everybody, I guess, does. And the president walked in your room, and you made a point to stand. And then you wrote why you stood. Tell us.
Absolutely. Honestly, it has nothing to do with who our president is, but just that it, in fact, is the president. You know, it's respect for my country. It's the country that is giving me everything that I have, and feel that, you know, I owe everything back to this country. And I feel like everybody should feel that way. You know, there's a lot worse places to live. I truly believe this is the greatest place in the world. And, you know, I've been given every opportunity because of where I live. And I will always stand for my country, my anthem, my flag, and, you know, especially the president of the United States. That's literally the highest held position in our country. So you better believe, no matter what kind of pain I'm in, I'm standing up and shaking that man or woman's hand.
It's a pretty inspiring moment. But then you told me privately you really just stood for Melania. Don't lie.
Oh, absolutely. I could have been shot through both legs. I would have found a way to stand for her.
All right, that's the American spirit. You know, John Rich and I, so last night, John and Big Kenny and I and a bunch of other guys were sitting around in his bus before the show, and we're talking about communication. And I said, John, I do radio 3 hours a day, and it's a warmth medium. You got to connect heart to heart, soul to soul on radio. And people will figure out in 10 seconds if you're a phony, because you can't fake it 3 hours a day, 5 days a week in radio. And the same thing on TV, although you can make a lot of points without saying a lot of words. I could just roll my eyes and people know what I'm thinking. But I've always believed that the most powerful form of communication is music. And this is what you do so well, John. What made you want to follow this crazy career that you're on?
Well, you know, I grew up out in Texas. My dad is a non-denominational Bible-banging preacher, and he played guitar in church. And I watched my dad, you know, be able to get up and lead people and sing to people and impact people. And, you know, if you got a great dad like that, every son wants to be like their dad. And so I picked up the guitar at an early age and really never thought I would have a shot at making music for a living. I mean, it's never really entered my mind. I just did it because my dad did it, and it was, you know, it's like you said, it's a soulful experience to be able to pick up an instrument and sing something to somebody. But man, you know, I'll echo the sentiments of the gentleman on the phone, which we had a chance to meet last night. We live in a place, you know, we woke up this morning and our eyes opened, and we are living in America. And we live in the only place in the world that literally has no limits to what we're allowed to go for and achieve. And we can dream as big as we want and work as hard as we want to go after those dreams. And that's what I did with music. You know, if you think about our Constitution, Sean, it never promises you happiness. I think that's a big misconception with a lot of people, that you're promised happiness. No, you're not. You're not promised happiness.
Oh, a declaration says the pursuit of happiness.
You're promised a pursuit of it. And the pursuit of happiness is what gets me up every day and charges me up. And when I'm able to grab that guitar and walk out on stage like we did here in Las Vegas for Vegas Strong and sing to those people and see them singing back, you saw it. That is a connection that nobody can ever break that, and only in America can you accomplish something like that.
It's just an amazing. I urge everybody, until I'm back on the air. You're going to see it tonight on Hannity, and we have all the highlights. I made sure we put in "God Bless America" the 8th of November, and I put in "Save a Horse, Ride a Cowboy" because that shows. There you go,
rock,
right?
Man.
You got it. Yeah. And and then you guys went over to your bar. And you played another 2 hours, and the crowd was going nuts. I mean, it was just a fun, amazing night. And, Thomas, how fun was that? You got to bring your parents there. And I had a blast last night just meeting everybody. Everybody was they were back to celebrating freedom and fun. That's what I felt last night was.
Honestly, it was the best time of my life. I'm not kidding. It's so fun to meet, you know, people like John and Big Kenny. You know, it's we look up to them so much, you know, and at the end of the day, they are normal people just like us, but, you know, they're our idols, you know, in country music, and being able to sit with them and talk to John for a little while and hang out with him, it honestly meant the world to me and to my girlfriend, you know, going through what we have lately, and just amazing people, you know, so gracious and so kind to us. It was really cool.
So one kind of cool moment last night is the president heard about the concert, John, and he's a big fan of yours, and he tweeted out that you all were playing last night with the words "Vegas Strong." How cool was that for you?
Man, what else can you ask for? You know, I mean, when the President of the United States recognizes what you're doing here in Las Vegas, I thought it was a huge gesture from him. Pardon me, Sean, we stayed up late. A huge gesture from him.
I've been struggling for 3 hours. Tell me about it. Go ahead.
Some more coffee. No, but he tweeted and he had hashtag Vegas Strong. And, you know, what that hashtag Vegas Strong is, the police commissioner here in the city of Las Vegas set up a GoFundMe account under Vegas Strong, and I think it's up over like $12 million. And there's a lot of people out here, you know, that wound up in the hospital. They're trying to pay deductibles on their insurance. Some people don't have insurance. I mean, it's just a lot going on. And for him to be able to tweet that and alert that many people to what's going on and give them a chance to donate to that was really a huge thing, and we're very grateful he did it.
You know, I went to the hospital. This is the day that I met Thomas and and your parents are wonderful. I got a kick out of your mom and dad. I think they're great people, and a tribute to the man you've become, Thomas. Anyway, and I went there, and everybody, it was the day after the president had been there, the hospital staff, the administrators, the doctors, the surgeons, all the people that saved all those lives. I mean, they were blown away that the president, you know, took the time and stayed there much longer than he had ever planned and wanted to meet everybody. So, anyway, listen, I want to thank you all. John, what you did and you and Big Kenny to pull this all together was amazing. All of the people from Beasley Radio, all the people from Cox, all the people from, you know, Rascal Flatts, Fox News, to pull this off in a week like you did was pretty amazing. And I just want to say thank you for what you've done for this great city to help them heal. It was a special night. It's all going to air tonight on Hannity, 9 Eastern on the Fox News Channel. And, John, hopefully I'll see you at the Redneck Riviera tonight.
Absolutely. I'll be down there again tonight. And just all you folks out there listening to Sean's show, watch it tonight. And if you feel inclined to do so, you should make a donation towards that. Some of the greatest Americans that we have are in Vegas and are struggling with a lot of this. So, you know, all the support we can get is much appreciated.
All right, guys. Good to talk to you both. We appreciate it. All right, 800-941-SEAN as we continue from Vegas. We're 1 week away from the release of Let There Be Light, the first movie I'm an executive producer of. That's next. One of the great moments last night, it was one of my favorite songs by Big and Rich, the 8th of November. Let's just play some of this here now.
On November 8th, 1965, in War Zone D in Vietnam. And on November 8th, 1965, 30 Americans were overrun by over 1,200 Viet Cong. They killed all of our boys that day, except for our buddy Niles and 2 others. They shot him up so bad that he came back to the States, and he spent 2 years at Walter Reed Medical Center getting over his injuries. But would you like to know what he did when he finally walked out of Walter Reed? I said, would you like to know what he did when he walked out of Walter Reed? He walked out of that hospital and he signed up and did 3 more tours of Vietnam is what he did for the United States Army. And he's a hero. We dedicate this song to him, all of our veterans, all of our active duty, and the boys and girls overseas in harm's way. This is called the 8th of November. I said 1, 2, 3, 2, 3.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, well, we're 1 week away from the release of my movie, Let There Be Light. Dionne Warwick did the music. She'll join us. Michael Francis, he's the pastor in the movie. Kevin Sorbo stars in the movie. They're all coming up next as we continue from Vegas. All right, 25 now till the top of the hour. Right down our toll-free telephone number. It's 800-941-SEAN. So we're in Vegas. Obviously, we had the big show last night and honoring the first responders, the families, the victims, and it was an amazing, amazing night. We're staying in Vegas tonight because we have another incredible event that I'm going to be a part of. So 1 week from today, we're going to open with my first movie that I'm the executive producer of, and it's called Let There Be Light. And so we decided to do something special here while we were in Vegas, and we invited 127 pastors, different denominations. It's faith-based, but it doesn't hit you over the head with religion. Hollywood is so formulaic. It's the same actors. It's the same formula. It's Batman, it's Superman. And so often the values of Christians and the values of conservatives are just outright dismissed by Hollywood. And we've seen a lot about Hollywood values in the last number of days. So we decided, and we got together with a lot of great people, that we were going to present to the city of Vegas an early showing of the movie. And that's going to take place tonight. We have all the pastors. I think it's sold out, unfortunately. And right here in Vegas, and we're all going to get together, and we're going to show it to people. By the way, it's a free screening, and Kevin Sorbo, Sam Sorbo, star in the movie. Kevin Sorbo is going to join us in a minute. As we started this project, step by step, incredible people joined us in the process. And one of the more exciting moments is when Dionne Warwick, who's just one of the most renowned singers, entertainers, and performers that I've known my whole life growing up in all her music, she decided to do the soundtrack for our movie, which we're really excited about. And the pastor in the movie is a guy by the name of Michael Francis, and his real-life story I always knew. He grew up the son of a notorious underboss in New York under the Colombo crime family. He had a hit out on him. He went to prison. And while in solitary, because he had to be in solitary or else he probably would have been whacked, he got a Bible from one of the guards at the prison. And it changed his life. And he became a real-life pastor. And he plays a pastor in the movie. And I've been telling you little bits and pieces about the story, but it's very contemporary. You have Kevin Sorbo playing a glitterati, paparazzi, very popular L.A., New York type of guy with a young model, abandoned his family. He wrote a book, Aborting God. The movie starts out with some of the evil that we all deal with every day in the world. And then beyond that evil, it's a personal story and a personal journey. So as he writes this book, Aborting God, he's debating a Christian. And the crowd is just eating him up and not liking the Christian message. And then we find out, well, why is he an atheist? Why did he abort God? And there's more twists and turns and emotional twists and turns in this movie than I think you could ever, imagine. I'm very proud of it. Now, before we get to Dionne Warwick and Michael Francis and Kevin Sorbo, I want to play you Dionne Warwick's incredible work for this movie and the soundtrack of this movie, Let There Be Light. Remember, it opens October 27th, 1 week from today. And to get a list of theaters, all you have to do is go to Hannity.com.
Let there be light tonight. Let there be light tonight. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let it shine on me. Let there be light. Sing, sister, for the ones with the wounded mind. Let there be light for the ones we left behind. Let there be light. Somebody say amen. Amen. Let there be light so that we may see. We may see again. Oh, let there be light tonight. Let there be light tonight. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be
amazing Dionne Warwick, and the movie opens 1 week from today. List of theaters up on Hannity.com. Dionne Warwick, renowned entertainer, performer of all time, joins us right now. Michael Francis is with us. He plays the pastor in the movie Let There Be Light. Kevin Sorbo is the main star in the movie, and he's the horrible person that makes a transformation. Welcome all of you to the program. Dionne Warwick, I've been a fan of yours since I was young. Your voice is amazing. You being in this project has added so much to it, and I can't tell you how beautiful that song is. That's amazing. Could you tell us about the song?
Yeah. How are you, first of all?
I'm good, except my voice is a little shot from screaming last night at this Vegas Strong concert.
Anyway, well, the song, which I'm very, very proud of, written by my son Damon Elliott, and his vision was to literally let people know that there is a solution. And as it turns out, he called me and says, "Mommy, I need your voice." I said, "Okay." And I did my part on it. But he also recruited some most incredible talents to participate as well. You'll hear Gladys Knight, who is just over the moon as far as I'm concerned with what she gave to the project. A young lady named Maya, Billy Ray Cyrus. I mean, he just went all out to get people who had same mindset with regards to what the film was about and his vision as to what he thought the song represented. So I could not be prouder of being a part of this project, and more proud of the fact that my baby was the one who came up with the idea.
Well, he has a beautiful heart. Obviously, if he put that together, I mean, the words in that song really touch people. Kevin, let me go to you. I never thought or dreamed I'd really be in the music business. And I remember watching your hit movie, God's Not Dead. And I remember interviewing you at the time, and I said, if there's ever a project, maybe we can do one together. And you and Sam, your wife, and Dan Gordon came to my office one day. I don't think we talked more than 15, 20 minutes. And you told me the whole story of Let There Be Light, and I just fell in love with the story. And we've just been working on the project ever since. I mean, it's an amazing, the end product. It's one of the things I'm most proud of in my entire career, because I think this is a movie that needed to be made. It's contemporary. It touches people's hearts. It's everything that I think Hollywood doesn't do. It's about real issues, real life crisis and conflict that people have. And it also offers a good message for people that I think is often ignored out of Hollywood. So, I was only too honored to join with you to do it. And from your end, you guys did a fabulous job.
Well, thank you. And it is interesting how the whole thing came together because, my wife Sam came up with the idea. She started writing the script. She brought in Dan Gordon, who's a dear friend. And people may know Dan or may not know him, but he's one of the top writers in Hollywood. He wrote Hurricane with Denzel Washington. He wrote Wide Earp with Kevin Costner. But anyway, Sam and him got together, finished the script. I read the script. 3 days later, you called me and said, "Hey, I'm ready to do this. I'm going to do something. Do you guys have anything?" And my wife says, "That's my script." We flew up to New York. Dan Gordon did the pitching. And in that 20 minutes that Dan talked, you didn't interrupt them once. I thought we should have done the documentary on that because I thought that was pretty amazing. you were spellbound by the script and the story that he had to tell.
Listen, I've learned that there's some of the movie business I don't like, the business part of it, but what you guys have created, the artistic part of it. I have now shown this to over 200 people. I've done my own focus groups, and you actually have up on your website, some testimonials of some airings that we've had, focus groups with people, and it's unbelievable. 98% of people that see this movie cry. And you start out as a very conflicted individual that hates God, aborting God. And then we find out the reason why. And you're living a life that really you shouldn't be living. And you left your family and you're drinking too much and you're doing drugs. And we find out the reason you wrote Aborting God. And you had lost a son at 9 years old. And the transformation is amazing. Part of that transformation comes when you meet with Michael Francis, who has one of the most incredible life stories of anybody because he is a real life pastor. Michael, welcome to the program. And you grew up the son of a notorious underboss in the Colombo crime family, and your own father at one point in your life signed off on a hit on you, and you found yourself in isolation in prison, and and your life changed.
Yeah, Sean, it's good to be back on again. I just want to mention something real quick. Dionne Warwick, she doesn't remember, I'm sure, but she played at my prom. My dad actually brought me to the Copacabana that night in '69,
Really?
and we all had a great time. Yeah, it was way back.
As long as they had a good time, that's all that matters.
It was great. It was terrific. Well, yeah, Sean, I was very attracted to the script. I'm really into apologetics. I love Kevin, and I'll be honest with you, I never acted before. They had to twist my arm to do it because I've been myself in documentaries. But I said, listen, I'll do it as long as I don't ruin the film. I was playing myself, so it was pretty easy, and a great cast and great crew, and I think it's a wonderful story. I think people are really going to be touched by it. Very entertaining, very well.
But you're also a pastor in real life now. How long have you been a pastor?
Well, no, I'm not a pastor, Sean. I go out, throughout the world and share my testimony. So, I'm not ordained or anything like that.
Okay.
Which I think, it could be a benefit because, I tell people I'm just you. We all have a story to tell. Mine might be a little bit more dramatic, but at the end of the day, it's a story about Christ's mercy and grace in my life. And there's no doubt in my mind that he saved my life. He put a woman in my life that led me to Christ. And over the past 20 years, had so many challenges and struggles, but he got me through all of it. And, I'm just happy to tell the story whenever I can.
Kevin, one of the other reasons I wanted to be a part of the project, besides the great story, and once we agreed to do the film, once I took on my executive producer role, I'm a big believer you let people do their job. And, you told me where you're going to be filming. You told me what the schedule you're going to be on. We went over the script. We did everything that we're supposed to do. And then when I started getting the first pictures and first cuts, I began to say, this is something magical happening here. And I don't know if you've had the same experience, but everybody I've shown the film to, they all cry, and it touches people deeply. That doesn't happen enough when I go to the movies. I like to be moved and touched and inspired and so on and so forth.
Well, this is a movie about redemption. It's a movie about faith. It's a movie about hope. And, we've been doing quite a few screenings and getting testimonials. We were just in Washington, D.C. last week at the Values Voters Summit there, and it was amazing, the responses from people coming out. Sam was doing the testimonials on camera. I was talking to people, answering questions, and answering anything they had to say. But there was a group of teenagers that walked out, and they're about 15, 16 years old. And one of the boys in that group, I overheard him say, that is the best movie I've ever seen. And to get that from a teenage kid where all they want to do is go see visual effects movies that you don't care about character development, you don't care about what happens to people. You see thousands of people die in these smash-em-up movies. This is a movie that is real life, and it's going to touch people. There's something for everybody in this movie. They'll be able to relate to it. They'll be able to take something from it. And I don't want to preach to the choir with this movie. I want atheists to go. I want agnostics to go. I want people to get up there and look at this movie with an open mind and an open heart and come away with what they come away with, because I know it's going to touch them.
I just got to tell you, it's been an honor to do this project with you. It opens 1 week from today. We have a special airing of it at Trinity Life Center. Then I'm going to be out on the road this weekend. I'm going to be in Dallas for 2 church services with Dr. Robert Jeffers at his church, and I'm excited about that. Then we're going to go see my buddy Daryl Scott, who is in Cleveland. But anyway, LetThereBeLightMovie.com and also Hannity.com for theaters. Dionne Warwick, I've always loved your work. God bless you. Thank you. And your son did an amazing job. Michael, it's great to talk to you again. And Kevin, we'll have you on TV next week. We look forward to that, too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Definitely. Thanks a lot, Sean. Thank you.
All right, guys. Let There Be Light debuts 1 week from today. Special airing tonight at the Trinity Life Center. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back from Vegas. It's the Sean Hannity Show. All right, we're wrapping things up from Vegas. Now, for those of you in the Dallas area, looking forward to seeing you at Robert Jeffers Church. That's coming up this weekend. There are 2 services, one at 9 o'clock, one at 10:30. And then we're going to go to Pastor Daryl Scott's church, which is in Cleveland at 6 o'clock on Sunday night. And 1 week from today, we launch Let There Be Light. So hopefully you can find a theater near you on Hannity.com. Tonight, you will see the incredible tribute to first responders and victims in Vegas, the Vegas Strong event on Hannity, a special edition, 9 Eastern.
Well, I think the uranium sale to Russia and the way it was done, so underhanded, with tremendous amounts of money being passed, I actually think that's Watergate modern age.
How could you not know that the Clinton team was paying for it? And didn't someone in the Clinton campaign know this? Mark Elias certainly did.
Right.
I'm sure that there was a small group of folks that were aware of the nature of the decision to hire Fusion back in the spring of 2016, but it was kept for reasons that I can understand to a very select group, given the sensitive nature of who they hired, a former MI6 agent, Christopher Steele.
This was the Democrats coming up with an excuse for losing an election. It's an election that's very hard for a Democrat to lose because the Electoral College is set in such a way that it's very hard to lose that election for a Democrat. They lost it. They lost it very badly and very easily. I mean, you look at the votes, it was 306 to what, 223 or something. They lost it by a lot. They didn't know what to say, so they made up the whole Russia hoax. Now it's turning out that the hoax has turned around, and you look at what's happened with Russia, and you look at the uranium deal, and you look at the fake dossier, so that's all turned around.
All right, so that was the president speaking out about what we've been telling people now forever. We had big breaking news last night on Hannity on the Fox News Channel, and the FBI informant that had infiltrated for some 4 years now has had his NDA lifted, meaning his non-disclosure agreement. Remember back in 2009 that the FBI was able to have documents and emails and tapes and, of course, his own experience having been an informant for 4 years in this whole issue of Vladimir Putin trying to corner the market of uranium in America. And now he's finally going to be able to talk, I assume, first to congressional committees. There are 2 in the House, 1 in the Senate. The counsel for this FBI informant is Victoria Tunsing, friend of this program. And, of course, this man is at the center of this whole Uranium One investigation. Thank you, Victoria, for being with us. Jay Sekulow from the American Center for Law and Justice, also chief counsel to the president, is with us. And, by the way, congrats, Jay Sekulow, because I see that the IRS ended the case that you took on. Yep. In other words, the IRS has admitted now that the targeting of Tea Party groups did, in fact, happen. That's your case.
And they signed a consent order, and Jeff Sessions, the Attorney General, today said there was no excuse for the conduct. Hundreds of organizations were affected by their actions, and that today's settlement makes clear that the abuse of power will not be tolerated. That's not from me. That is from the Department of Justice that was representing the IRS. So a great settlement to those Tea Party and conservative groups that were targeted. We're thrilled with the outcome of that.
Well, I had 3 separate audits in just the last year. I wonder if this is related to it, because I'm a conservative and I always pay my taxes, and it's beyond aggravating and expensive when they do this to you. But I think that was done in reaction to the 2010 Tea Party movement that was becoming effective. And once they get bogged down with lawsuits, they can't spend money or time on anything else.
Well, and this one went on for 3 years. But as I said, a great conclusion to the case, and very glad that it's been rectified for our clients, who all now have their tax-exempt status, by the way, and a declaratory action that the government will not only not do that again, but what they did was inappropriate. So good start for that one's done.
Do people get held accountable for that? Lois Lerner, for example?
Well, our case was not against Lois Lerner. Our case was against, Lois Lerner was a defendant in her official capacity. She, of course, then was fired or quit or whatever they want to call it. She was gone. So this goes to more of the policy and practices of the Internal Revenue Service itself. So they can no longer do what they
outrageous.
were doing. Yeah, it was outrageous. And the good news is that's not happening again. Now we got a court order to justify it. So.
All right,
great.
let me go to Victoria. You're representing this FBI informant, and I know there's only so much you're able to share with us because of attorney-client privilege, but the lifting of this non-disclosure agreement is massive because apparently he had, infiltrated for 4 years, right, as it relates to this whole network of people, including spies within the U.S. that were working for Vladimir Putin and Russia to get a hold of the American uranium market.
He was talking to a lot of the Russians here in the United States that were involved in this uranium project to get the Uranium One deal authorized by CFIUS. And so he heard all the conversations that went on and what they were talking about and how they were trying to influence the U.S. government. He is no longer bound, of course, by the NDA. Thank you, FBI. But now comes some hard part because we're going to have to prepare him for talking to, it'll be the Senate Judiciary Committee first.
Do we know when that's going to happen?
Sean, it's going to happen after I get back from California in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay. So you got a planned vacation. Sounds like with Joe DeGeneva, your partner and your best friend. But okay, so
staying at Jackie Autry's house, Gene Autry's widow. But he needs these 2 weeks to really get things organized, because until this occurred, he didn't know if he was going to be doing something, with the government. So it's actually
well, he made the right decision choosing you as his lawyer. I've known you for many years, and I've known Joe for many years, and not only are you married, but you have this law firm together, but you're two of the best lawyers in D.C., Jay Sekulow being another one, and an independent firm. So we do know this. We do know that the evidence, from what I hear, is overwhelming, that the evidence is incontrovertible, that the FBI, and that would mean the Justice Department, knew all about Putin's intentions going back to 2009 and 2010. It never made sense that anybody would ever give 20% of America's uranium to a hostile actor or a hostile state like Russia and Putin, but they did it anyway.
And moreover, Sean, not just that, even if it were a pure, wonderful country, why would you give up 20% of it to a foreign country? But the FBI and the Justice Department knew that these people were giving kickbacks and that this company was corrupt and that this was a company that was purchasing the 20%. And as I said last night on your show, my client was told by the FBI that the president was being briefed. President Obama was being briefed on this conduct, and that he was learning this information prior to the October 2010 decision.
So they knew about bribery, they knew about kickbacks, they knew about extortion, they knew about racketeering,
right,
and all of these crimes in 2009, and they knew that the predicate of all of this was sabotage, espionage of Vladimir Putin. So then it raises a lot of different questions here. And, Jay, maybe I'll bring you in on this from the extent that one has to ask, if they knew this, why didn't they stop any activity and all activity of a foreign entity infiltrating our country and trying to get the foundational material of nuclear weapons?
Well, I think it raises the question that everybody wants to know, and that is, how much information did President Obama have about this? When did he know it? When did they tell him about the kickbacks, bribery, extortions issues? And how in the world did they allow this to proceed when they actually also got a plea on one of the individuals did plea guilty to money laundering charges, or two did, for racketeering. So the idea is, how in the world, as you said, Sean, because to me the fundamental question is, we allow 20% of our uranium reserves go to a company controlled by the Russians, who, by the way, that company in and of itself was under a current investigation, and that went to CFIUS and was approved. That does not add up. It just makes no sense that there were not multiple red flags in the way here, that somebody would have said this is not an appropriate transaction to proceed. And how is the FBI conducting an investigation? And Eric Holder, who also served on this committee, did not raise it? That's unreal.
And what the amazing thing, and I guess it's an issue of coincidence maybe, but everybody that has now been involved in this issue of Trump-Russia collusion, of which there is no evidence. As a matter of fact, I would not be surprised if at some point in the very near future the president is completely and totally exonerated of any of these phony allegations that have been reported in false reporting and fake news for the last year. But we've got to go back to a fundamental question here, and that is, Victoria, you have Robert Mueller. He was the head of the FBI. I would assume he knew. I've got to assume that Eric Holder knew. I've got to assume that Rod Rosenstein was overseeing this entire investigation with your client. And I've got to assume, and we've been told, that it made it into the presidential daily briefing of Barack Obama back in 2009. But yes, his administration still continued to push forward to give permission for Vladimir Putin to control 20% of our uranium.
But let's not leave out this factor, Sean, and that is that today we're so used to talking about it, we have neglected to talk about HRC, Hillary Rodham Clinton's involvement, and that she sat on CFIUS, and that Bill Clinton got $500,000 for a speech in Russia paid for by bankers.
But by the way, Victoria, I don't mean to interrupt you. The bankers, this was Renaissance Bank. They had a financial interest in Uranium One.
I was just getting there. I was
sorry. I'm a talk show host. Yes.
No, and they were all former Russian intelligence people, and they were promoting the sale of stock of Uranium One, and they pay him $500,000. He meets with Putin while he's there, and then of course the Clinton Foundation gets tens of millions of dollars from the people involved in the sale to the head people with Uranium One. That is an important factor.
And he supported the Uranium One deal while there, and he first tried to use his own wife's State Department to get permission to meet with people that represented their nuclear energy industry, and then he didn't get permission, so he just went straight to Vladimir. And then we've got all the money that was kicked back to the foundation, Jay.
Yeah, so this is, and Victoria has done a great job of getting this NDA lifted, and it includes, as you mentioned, the Clinton Foundation, Rostom 10X, Uranium One, and individuals, and it's not limited to that. It says, but not limited to anything related to those people, so it could go further. But here's the question that I'm pondering, and Victoria may have the answer to this. It's great that the House and the Senate are going to do the investigations of all this. The question is, what is the Department of Justice doing with this information? What is the FBI doing? And maybe we don't know yet, and maybe there's investigations going on. But House and Senate investigation for oversight, I think it's great. You'll get answers to questions. But I wonder what is the ultimate aspect of this? Where does this end?
Where does it end? All right, I'll tell you what. Stay right there. Where does this end is where we'll pick it up when we get back. More with Victoria Tunsing. She is the counsel for the FBI informant that now, as of late last night, just as we were going on the air, 9 Eastern on Fox, they lifted the non-disclosure agreement, which means he can now tell everybody, starting with Congress, about his story, present his evidence that he has involving this deal. Jay Sekulow, big win for him on this IRS case today. Big news for the ACLJ, where the IRS admitted they were targeting Tea Party groups. And also he's the president's counsel. We'll get to all of this and a lot more. 800-941-SEAN, toll-free telephone number as we continue our investigation. Quick break. Right back. We'll continue. All right, as we continue, Victoria Tunsing is the counsel for the FBI informant at the center of this Uranium One investigation. Jay Sekulow won a big case today as it relates to the IRS admitting they targeted Tea Party individuals and groups, and also the one of the lead counsels for the president. All right, so let's pick it up where we left off. Jay, you were asking Victoria a question.
Yeah, and that is, so we now know that the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform and House Permanent Select Committee on Intelligence are going to be investigating. The Senate Committee on Judiciary, and said Victoria did a phenomenal job of getting this NDA lifted. The question is, what does the FBI and Department of Justice do once they get information, let's say, from the House and Senate? Or is there already independent investigations? Because everyone's asking me, I'm sure they're asking you, Sean, I'm probably asking Victoria as well, where does this go?
To a special counsel, because it would look awful for Jeff Sessions to be over an investigation when he was there with Trump saying lock her up. Rod Rosenstein is precluded from doing it. He's conflicted out because he was a U.S. attorney over the case. Rod Rosenstein was U.S. attorney in Maryland, which was the office that did the case.
That was overlooked. And Robert Mueller was the head of the FBI. So none of those people can be involved in this case. Am I wrong, Victoria?
You know, you're absolutely right. I mean, just the appearance of a conflict, but they in fact have a conflict but their conduct has to be examined in the course of any investigation of this matter.
Jay, and it's completely independent from you got the whole GPS fusion thing yesterday with the DNC and Hillary Clinton's campaign. Continuing the funding of all that. That's an issue that's going to be evaluated. This Uranium One transaction is not within the purview of this special counsel, Robert Mueller. So if it goes to a special counsel, it would have to be a separate one set up just for this. And this would be, again, if you look at the nature and scope of it, it's a significant issue. But again, the House and Senate started. The question is, and then as Victoria's saying, the special counsel may be the way they go on this.
Victoria, last word.
I don't know what's in the purview of this investigation that Bob Mueller's doing. It's so wide-ranging. I can't even figure out what the crime is. But you're absolutely right that it should not be going.
It's to my client. I'll be very clear there.
All right, guys, you've been amazing. I'll be honest. But for Peter Schweitzer 2 years ago, but for the work of of people like Sarah Carter and John Solomon and pushing it on this show, knowing that there was a lot of unanswered questions here, I don't know if we'd be where we are today. And Victoria, you representing the FBI informant is the best possible news for him because he's going to have great representation. And Jay, this matters on every level because of all the garbage that has been falsely leveled against the president. So it's
but
pretty.
Sean, Sean, has ABC, CBS, or NBC picked it up yet?
No. The same people that were talking about how horrible Russia is, horrible Vladimir Putin is, no, they don't show any interest because it doesn't fit their agenda, which is the extension of the Democratic Party. Anyway, thank you all. We appreciate it. We'll have a lot more on this coming up. You're going to hear about Fusion GPS in the next segment. That's straight ahead. We got our friends Kevin and Sam Sorbo. The movie debuts tomorrow. We'll tell you about that in a few minutes. Let There Be Light in theaters all across the country. Hannity.com to find the theater near you.
We know you never want to miss the Sean Hannity Show. And now you never have to. Just sign up for Hannity Headlines. A bite-sized version of the show that you can take with you on your laptop, your mobile phone, everywhere you go. Even to your liberal in-laws' place in Vermont.
Yeah.
And after a few hours of that, you'll be glad you brought Sean along. To sign up today for Hannity Headlines, go to Hannity.com.
The Christopher Steele dossier, which is a controversial document for lots of reasons. Quoting from that, though, a lot of it has been proven out.
Do you believe anything about that dossier?
Oh, I think it should be taken a look at. I think they should really read it, understand it, analyze it, and determine what's fact, what may not be fact. We already know that the part about the coverage that they have on him with sex actions is supposed to be true.
My focus today is to explore how many claims within Steele's dossier are looking more and more likely as though they are accurate. The dossier definitely seems right on these points. A quid pro quo relationship seems to exist between the Trump campaign and Putin's Russia.
There's a lot in the dossier that is yet to be proven, but increasingly, as we'll hear throughout the day, allegations are checking out.
The famous dossier, which is getting a lot more credibility now than it did.
Well, I think that's important, right, that the dossier, right, which looked sort of out there at first, is getting truer and truer and truer as facts come out.
The Clinton campaign apparently conducted opposition research, as every campaign does, on their opponent. They got back, apparently, this very salacious and now infamous dossier, which they never used. In fact, didn't even reach the press until after the election was over. They never used it.
What I have learned, I've heard about the dossier, it's about his involvement with women. It's about possibly prostitutes.
We were able to corroborate in our intelligence community assessment, which from other sources in which we had very high confidence level.
So when the president just refers to it as fake dossier, that is false.
I don't think that is the accurate characterization for the entirety of the dossier.
Jared Kushner or anybody else who met with a Russian in the last year, he knows it all. It's all. If he had a little excitement in some hotel room in Moscow X many years ago, according to that dossier, he's got those pictures. He's looked at them a million times.
That said, Wolf, we do want to hear from Christopher Steele. So far, a lot of what he has alleged in the dossier has been proven.
We reported a number of weeks ago that the intelligence community had, in fact, confirmed some of the elements in the dossier, including the particular meetings and conversations detailed in the dossier took place in the places and at the times as described there. So it directly contradicts the president, who has repeated from the beginning that the dossier, like many parts of the Russia investigation, is a hoax.
All right, 23 now till the top of the hour. So there you have all these Democrats, all of them, going on and the media pushing the Steele dossier. Rachel Maddow, Maxine Waters, and Andre Carson, Chris Matthews, Paul Begala, Donnie Deutsch, James Clapper, and it goes on from there. Nonstop. They just go with it. They wanted to believe every salacious detail that was paid for, that was made up by the Russians. Oh, I guess they're colluding to help get Hillary Clinton elected and impact the election, and Hillary funded the whole entire thing. Thor Halvorsen is with us, and he's the CEO of the New York-based Human Rights Foundation, and he's here to shed some light on Fusion GPS, with whom he had a previous interaction with and dealings with that were pretty much unspeakable. He says they are smear artists, he said, and what they've learned is if you want to kill an investigation, if you want to destroy a law enforcement investigation, go after the witnesses, go after the whistleblowers. Wow, shocking. Now, he also testified in front of the Senate Judiciary Committee in July of this year against Fusion GPS, which, of course, they're not going to testify before anybody, and they're fighting a congressional subpoena. Thor, sir, welcome to the program. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you for having me on your program, Sean.
All right, let's talk about what you know about Fusion GPS. Tell us how you got involved, what you know, and what people need to know.
Sure. Well, how I get into this was accidentally. I was made aware of a massive government contract fraud that was taking place in the dictatorship of Venezuela. In other words, someone gave me information about a theft of $3 billion that took place in the Chavez government in Venezuela.
Okay.
So I took the information. I thought it was outrageous. A bunch of guys in their 20s were awarded power plants contracts to build these power plants in Venezuela. And they built faulty power plants and walked off with the money. So I figured I would write about this circumstance in the United States and alert the authorities in as much as the stolen Venezuelan money was being laundered through American banks. Well, to make a long story short, the targets of my investigation, the people that I was blowing the whistle on, ended up hiring Fusion GPS. They hired Fusion GPS to go after those of us who had been talking about this investigation, talking about this company, pointing out their crimes. And what Fusion GPS did for them, in the case of 4 different people, they couldn't come up with anything tangible about us that was negative. So they just simply made it up. And they created these dossiers, pretty similar, each of these dossiers, making the same allegations over and over again. Salacious allegations of outrageous conduct that range from extortion and rape to drug abuse and pedophilia. And then they shop these dossiers around to the media. So whereas we are trying to expose a crime, they figured, here's what we'll do to eliminate the whistleblowers. Here's what we'll do to go after them. Let's create dossiers and accuse them of all sorts of horrible things.
I read Catherine Herridge's piece and Pam Brown's piece and on FoxNews.com, and you know what's amazing about this is that you're saying that they have a track record of intimidation and smear tactics, but it's beyond that, because in your congressional testimony and your firsthand account here, you're saying that they labeled you a pedophile, an extortionist, a drug trafficker, because you criticize one of their clients. Now, how do you know that they did all of this?
Okay, well, it starts off with the fact that their clients were being investigated by the Wall Street Journal. As you know, the Wall Street Journal is a serious outfit. They were doing an investigation. They were writing a story. The story was 4,000 words long. How do I know the story was that long? Because the reporter and I were in touch constantly. We were sharing information. I was telling him about what was going on. Before you know it, the reporter was asked to visit Venezuela and meet with the men who he was writing about. When he gets to Venezuela, into the conference room of these guys who stole billions of dollars, there's one of the partners of Fusion GPS sitting in the conference room. He also happens to be formerly the bureau chief for Latin America for the Wall Street Journal. In other words, the reporter walks into the room, and there's his former boss, who's now a partner at Fusion GPS, saying to him, all of these allegations are lies. These are good men. They're just excellent businessmen. They earned these billions and billions of dollars, and you're being played. Here's a dossier about the men who are feeding you information. Don't ask me how I know that they are the ones feeding you information, but I do know that here's the dossier. That's the first time I heard the word Fusion GPS. When the Wall Street Journal says to me, I can't believe my former boss is working for them. By the way, they gave me a file on you. That's the first time I learned. And, of course, after that, I started learning more and more about them.
Did you get the file that they had made on you?
No. The reporter read it to me. I know what it contains, but he did not give me a copy. I think the Wall Street Journal has internal.
I mean, because I think based on what you're saying, that you'd have a lawsuit here if you just can't make up out of whole cloth that somebody's a pedophile, an extortionist, and a drug trafficker. I mean,
well, you're in the right neighborhood. I can't really tell you what I'm doing next, but let's just say that subsequent to this, the Wall Street Journal did nothing with this. In fact, the reporter in the Journal said, this is full of this stuff is hot air. We're not going to pay any attention to it. We're going to keep doing our story. But then they kept shopping it around. And, Sean, they found an out-of-work journalist in Washington, D.C., someone who'd been dismissed from job after job by the name of Ken Silverstein. They paid Ken Silverstein, and Ken Silverstein published it on a left-wing website, one of these fringe websites. He published an article with these allegations in it. And then they paid, Fusion GPS paid one of these SEO companies, the ones that focus on where things rank on a Google search, and they pushed the story way, way up so that when you Google my name, it's the first or second thing that pops up. That's what Fusion GPS did.
By the way, a lot of people don't know you can do. There's a whole group of people you can pay to either bury stories on Google and Yahoo or put them up on top. And there's, I guess, particular methods that they use. So what you're saying, that is true. So what happened since this all happened to you? I mean, what is your human rights group about, by the way? Do you work on issues involving?
We focus on dictatorships. We focus on the struggle against dictatorships, whether it's Cuba, North Korea, Russia, China, Venezuela, Angola. Our goal is to enter that vacuum where the establishment organizations aren't really focused on. A lot of them spend most of their time focusing on democracies like the U.S.
Stay right there. We'll have more with Thor Halvorsen, who's with us, and he is saying he's a victim of Fusion GPS. We'll get more of his story on the other side of all of this as we continue here on the Sean Hannity Show. Quick break. Right back. We'll continue. All right, welcome back as we continue. Thor Halvorsen is with us. And, hey, Thor, how are you? All right, so I want to get back to this. Everybody in the media is going with the same talking point. Well, a Republican, a GOP operative paid to begin the dossier on Trump. And the fact of the matter is that person got out long before Steele, who made up all of these allegations by paying Russians about Donald Trump and the more salacious details. So what they're saying isn't true. We now know that Hillary Clinton and the Democrats paid for the smear.
Right.
Her campaign paid for the whole smear. So you're saying that this whole group, is that why they're unwilling to talk to Congress? And I know that they're trying to get into their bank accounts to find exactly where the money came from that led to the dossier that was used by the media and used by Democrats to try and impact this election, even though all of the information and the propaganda and the misinformation came from Russia.
Well, ask yourself, Sean, why did they admit to paying for the dossier? They admitted to paying for the dossier because of the subpoena. They want to get ahead of the subpoena and say, Judge, don't go forward and open the bank accounts of Fusion GPS because we don't need to know that anymore, because now they fessed up and the DNC has claimed, and the Hillary Clinton campaign, that they paid for the dossier. The reason why is very simple, Sean. That bank information contains the information about payoffs to dozens of journalists inside and outside of the Beltway by Fusion GPS. I am convinced that Fusion GPS is engaged in regular payola with journalists in order to ensure that some stories get coverage and some don't. In addition, what that banking information contains is information about the criminal entities, most of them from abroad, that hire Fusion GPS to kill stories, to go after witnesses, to blow up concepts when the criminal entity is suffering or potentially going to get in trouble. This is what happened in the Venezuela case. Derwick Associates paid Fusion to end with the credibility of the witnesses and to obstruct justice. Fusion GPS doesn't make a lot of money from its American clients. It makes the bulk of its money from criminals abroad.
This is like the most unbelievable story I think I've ever heard. It really is.
Well,
but and listen, I'm just going to say something, and this is on a personal level. I mean, you have no recourse. I'm a public figure. I'm on radio 3 hours a day, TV 1 hour a day. And when people lie about me, the standard is so high that I have to prove that what they're saying was actual malice. And to get there, it is such a high legal bar, it's nearly impossible. So if you're a public figure, they can pretty much say anything, and they do say anything they want. And I've just finally compartmentalized in my mind that, okay, this is my chosen profession. I didn't think that this was going to be a part of it, but people telling lies about me on a regular basis is just part and parcel of what I now have happening in my life.
Well, and you know this better than anyone. Even though they're lies, it still hurts. It's still nasty when family members and whatnot look at this stuff and say,
"Of course it is."
Seen what they're saying, and yet they get away with it. They get away with it. It was really, despite the fact that Fusion GPS did this and hired this loser, Ken Silverstein, to write about it, the fact is that it felt really good to know that there's a collection of us that are being the targets of Fusion GPS, because finally what these accusations can be explained. Finally, whether it's William Browder, myself, or in this case President Trump, can say, look, there's a pattern here. It's the same company engaged in the same behavior again and again. These are former journalists who lost their way and decided we will do anything for money. They don't care about the truth. They care about making money, which is why they work for criminals.
So I'm just
why
assuming,
they want to engage in this.
I'm assuming you're going to do a lawsuit.
Well, look, a lawsuit's going to cost millions of dollars, and suing this person, Silverstein,
all right, I've got to break. But Thor, come back and tell us more, and as you get more information on it, and we'll let people decide on their own. And I can tell you, smear campaigns against conservatives are just part of our everyday business. It's unbelievable. And by the way, they're well funded. All those people.